Buenas tardes. It's a couple minutes till class starts, so all you early birds can start coming in. And as you come in, if you can just let us know in the comments, just say what's up. It always kind of gets me pumped before class starts to hear from you guys.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So it's about 6 o'clock now. So buenas tardes, everyone. Welcome to tonight's virtual cooking class. My name is Bernie Molina, and I'm the author of An Instant Cookbook. Tonight, Northgate Gonzalez Markets and I are going to bring you a really fun class, and just in time. I mean, the weather just changed this weekend. Normally I teach class and it's still, my blinds are here. It's still daylight outside, but right now it's dark. So we're gonna learn how to make empanadas and champurrado today. So it's perfect for this weather. This dessert and this drink is fantastic to bring to like Friendsgiving, Thanksgiving, posadas. You can make it on Dia de la Virgen. I mean, whenever you decide to make it during this holiday season, I promise it's gonna be a hit. People are gonna ask you for the recipe. I guarantee it. This champurrado recipe in particular, I've been perfecting it over the years. And, as soon as like it goes from the 70s to the 60s here in Los Angeles, my friends, my suegro starts asking me, oh, when are you gonna make some champurrado? It's champurrado weather. When are you gonna make some? So I'm gonna teach you how to make it. I promise it's gonna be a hit. And the empanadas, they're so delicious. I'm really excited to get started with you tonight. So before we get into it, however, for those of you who are, joining us in class, can you please let me know in the comments, are you like watching and, maybe taking notes so that you can cook this later? Or are you following along in real time? Let me know in the comments, please, because that helps me really set the pace of this class. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for inviting us into your home on this evening, spending an hour of your time with us. And that this hour is yours, so I want to really custom tailor it to whatever it is that you guys need. So whether you're cooking along live with us or, like I said, kind of watching and taking notes for later, let us know. That will help me set the pace. And as you all let me know that, I'm going to go over the ingredients for tonight. So for the empanadas, we're going to need 3 cups of flour, a pinch of salt, a cup of sugar. We've got some milk. This is the brand I use. I mean, use any milk that you want, honestly, it's fine. What else have we got here? You're gonna need some baking soda, also known as floof powder. Someone on TikTok called it that. I thought it was hilarious. And cinnamon and vanilla extract. I feel like I'm forgetting an ingredient, but as we make it, it'll come to me. Oh, eggs, butter. Obviously, you can't really bake without eggs and butter. And for the filling, I'm using this guava paste that I bought from Northgate Market. You can see it's kind of like jelly, but not quite. So it's guava paste. If you've ever bought like cranberry sauce in a can for Thanksgiving, the texture is really similar to that. And I like it because it's firm. You can see this jelly, right? It's like firm. It's not like normal jelly. Normal jelly, it's hard to put into an empanada. It can kind of get absorbed by the dough. And, you know, when you bite into an empanada, you want that sweet, you know, center, that sugary sweet center. So that's, you know, this is it's firm enough so that when it bakes, the dough won't absorb it, but, you know, you'll get a nice bite of the jam. And then optional, you have the cream cheese. So it's like kind of like a guava with cheese empanada. That's really good. So that's what we're gonna need for the empanadas. For the champurrado, we are going to use, this is my secret ingredient to make it taste good. By the way, this is what the guava paste looks like if you've never seen it before. That was empanadas. But going back to champurrado, this is my secret ingredient. Okay, Northgate masa. All right, we're gonna use this masa for the champurrado. So some people use for the recipe like masa harina, so like corn flour, and that's delicious and amazing. But using this pre-made masa, I'm gonna show you some tricks on how to just get the champurrado to have that delicious consistency. Because, you know, for those of you who don't know, champurrado is like a thicker hot chocolate, and the way we thicken it is with the you know, the masa. It's you can also call it an atole de chocolate, right? That's what champurrado is. So we're gonna use that. You're going to need milk. I already showed you. You're also gonna need evaporated milk right here, water, and a Mexican chocolate tablet. So, you know, we're not throwing Hershey's in there. Okay, we're gonna use a Mexican tablet of chocolate, a cinnamon stick, and a piloncillo. Okay. And, you know, when you're making champurrado, you can use like a traditional whisk. I like to use this. This is specifically made to make like Mexican hot chocolate or champurrado. You know, a ladle, serve. You know, we have our pot where we're gonna make it and our pot where we're gonna dissolve the masa. So we need to dissolve it ahead of time. I'll get to it, don't worry. I don't wanna get too ahead of myself here. And I just wanna tell you, like, I'm really excited about these recipes. This is stuff that I grew up with. For those of you who don't know, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Like I said, my name is Bernie Molina, and I'm the author of Abuelita Cookbook, which celebrates my Salvi-Mex upbringing in Southeast Los Angeles through recipes. So, you know, I grew up going to Northgate Market because, you know, they have traditional Mexican ingredients, but also those traditional Central American ingredients that were really important to the cooking in my home. And the reason that food is so important to me is because when I was growing up, my mother owned and operated a bakery in Inglewood, actually. So this empanada recipe, I'm really proud to say that it's hers. So that's why it has that seal of approval. It's like Senora approved and Mama approved, right? It's really delicious. You can, once you learn how to make the masa, which I'm going to teach you tonight, you can stuff it with anything. So my favorite is the guava paste from Northgate. But if you ever make your own jams or jellies, you can do that too. You know, my mom always has had guava trees growing up, and so we made our own guava jam at home, and it was a lot of fun to make that together. We had my son in the kitchen. I mean, it was just a really beautiful experience. Memories of a lifetime, right? But if you're in a pinch, you know, this comes in handy too, and it's very user-friendly. It's easy to work with. Because, you know, when we were making our jam, it was a little runny. We had to thicken it. It was a whole ordeal. But anyway, So yeah, these are recipes that are really close to me that I'm really excited to make with you. So why don't we get to it? So I'm gonna get started by demonstrating to you how to make the masa. And then after that, I'm gonna show you how to assemble empanadas. We'll put them to bake. Although I have some pre-made already too, to kind of show you what you're looking for, what to do, what not to do. And then we'll make the champurrado so that I can enjoy a nice empanada on camera and champurrado with you all. So I'm actually going to set this to the side. I'll just put this right here, thank you. And I want you to be able to see my mixer. This is very important. So if you don't have a stand mixer like this, excuse me, you can use like the beaters. You can also do it by hand. It's a little tiring to do it by hand. I'm not gonna lie. So if you do have something like this, this is gonna make your life a lot easier. If you're new, like I said, I grew up in a bakery, so I was around this machinery my whole life. But if you're new to baking, be really careful around, with this stuff. There's always like a safety lock. So here you can see, I mean, every model is different, but standard, there's going to be a safety lock to open and close this. This blade can be removed. This is not the blade, but it's the thing that mixes the dough. And so when you put it in, it locks as well. You want to hear that click? And then this bowl locks as well. So become really familiar with your equipment before you start using it, just for safety and just some common sense rules, right? Never stick your hand in here, like in here when you're mixing. Just safety tips like that really make baking and cooking go a lot smoother in the kitchen. And that's just something that my mom always made sure to tell me. So let's get started. First, we're going to add our dry ingredients. So we've got 3 cups of flour. I'm going to just put this here for now. Thank you. 1 cup of sugar. I'm going to hang on to this. A pinch of salt. It's kind of a big pinch, but that's okay. And actually, I got my baking powder over here. So we're going to use a whole tablespoon of baking powder here. Now, this is the brand that I like. What I like about it is that you can see how there's like full, and then the metal there, it's kind of a glare. See the metal? So what that metal is there for is to help you scrape off the top so that you get a nice, even, level spoonful. That way your measurement is precise, because with baking powder, you need to be really precise. Otherwise, the whole thing can just get a little too big. We certainly don't want that. We're gonna add a small teaspoon. It's actually like 1/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon. I like cinnamon a lot, but it's kind of good to pre-measure. It certainly has happened to me where I go a little crazy with cinnamon, and then my empanadas look really brown. So I'm just kind of gonna dry mix these ingredients here. It's not really necessary, but it's just a step that I always like to do. So you can see your recipe will call for 2 eggs. I'm gonna put 1 into the batter, and I'm going to reserve another one for the egg wash at the end. So we're gonna break 1 egg in here. Beautiful. And you don't have to, but it will make your life a lot easier if you leave your eggs and butter out at room temperature. So not like your whole carton of eggs, right? But the eggs you're gonna use and the stick of butter you're gonna use, see how the butter is softened? And this is just gonna make the mixing process go much smoother. Of course, in a pinch, you could like microwave it if you had to, but you can avoid it. That's better. And we have like, I think 1/2 tablespoon of vanilla extract. I always just use the cap to measure. But that's just me. Okay, so now I'm going to unlock this, lower it, and we're going to mix. So the last ingredient that's missing is the milk. So 1/2 cup of milk. And once this starts going, I'm gonna pour it in there. Now remember, I said to be really careful when this thing's moving. So I'm not gonna like stick my hand in there while it's moving around. I'm really just gonna gently pour the milk into it on the side. So this might be a little loud if you want to kind of lower your volume a little bit. I don't think it's that loud, but that's a courtesy I wanted to let you know. So we're gonna start nice and slow. And what you're looking for is for the texture of the dough to come together. And you'll know it's done when the dough no longer sticks to the sides of the bowl. And you know, once it's mixed, I can take this bowl out, bring it closer to the camera, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So now's a good time to slowly add in my milk. And so I have it at the second to the lowest setting right now. I'm not in a rush, you know. I want a good quality dough for my empanadas. And I'm patient, you know. Wait. Truthfully, like, that's why I have some masa pre-made, because this can take like 5 to 10 minutes of patiently mixing this. It's all in the wait and see thing. And it's so funny because like it makes a difference how you pour the milk in, because you know I've made mistakes all the time. And there's sometimes when I just pour the milk in all at once, and then the dough just isn't the right texture. So that tip of slowly pouring it in really makes a difference. So we're just gonna wait for this to combine and really make the texture that we're looking for. And be patient, because right now, like, it looks a little dry. I'm like, oh, I want to add more milk, but don't do it. Just be patient and let it mix. It's worth the wait. It's starting to come together. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I want you to be able to see this. So see, it's almost there. It's not really sticking to the sides, but it hasn't totally come together yet. In just a couple, maybe a minute or two at the most, it's gonna come together really nicely. So I kind of wanted to give you a peek of what that looks like. So safety first. Let's lock the bowl in, unlock this, set it, and let's get to mixing. It's really coming together. It's starting to look good. I'm excited. Raise it up a little bit, get a little more aggressive to really agitate the dough. Yeah, that looks good. So see, like, I don't know if you saw that, it fell right off the hook. I'm gonna pull this out so you can see what I'm talking about. See that? If I were to gather it right now, for those of you who make tortillas by hand, you're looking for the same type of consistency, that it's not so dry that it's like clumpy, but it also doesn't stick to your hand. See? This is a ball of dough. Oh man, this is nice. I really like it. This is really pretty. It is a little a bit sticky to the touch, but I'm going to give you some tips on how to work with it. It's the butter, you know, but we want it a little with that texture, so that when it's baking, it doesn't totally stick to your cookie sheet. Although you can line it with parchment paper, or Crisco, or coconut oil, or more butter. This is so nice. I'm so excited to work with this. So I'm going to set this down and move this out of the way. Excuse me one moment. Oh wow, now I feel like, oh, I got some breathing room. Okay, so if you look at the ingredients, I specified 3 cups of flour plus more for dusting, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So can you hand me that red bowl right next to you? A flour, please. Thank you. So when you're baking, when you're working with something like this, you want to flour your surface. So let me make sure that you can see what I'm doing here. So I thoroughly cleaned the surface before class started. You can certainly use your kitchen counters if you feel a little weird about that, despite how clean they are. You can buy marble slabs. Places like Williams-Sonoma or Crate and Barrel have them, and they usually have non-stick pads at the bottom so they don't slide, and you can really get aggressive with your dough and knead it the way that you want to. So I'm going to lightly dust my surface with flour. Oh, I'm having a flashback because my mom always tells me lightly dust because she says que soy muy exagerada with the flour, but we'll have our techniques. Okay. And so also when you're working with dough like this, you can certainly like rub flour between your hands too. It's not really necessary. This dough has a really nice texture and consistency. I love this little dough. It came out so perfect. And so I'm gonna roll it into, this should make a dozen empanadas. So let's like roll them. And I like to roll them ahead of time so that I make sure that they all kind of look the same. That way I don't have like one big empanada and one little empanada. And I'm just so into baking that I feel like I've been kind of just going on and on about this, so pardon me, but are there any questions so far? I realize I haven't stopped to ask if there's any questions, so please don't be shy. Write your questions in the comment section. I'll be happy to get to them, to answer them.
So far, so good, Bernie.
Okay, so we have 6 so far, so this looks good. We're kind of eyeballing it. If you have a food scale, oh, that's even better, to be quite honest. I can't tell you how happy I am baking again. I usually don't bake too much during the year, según yo, para cuidarme la forma. But once October hits, I'm like, it's baking season. Okay, let's see. So I'm actually gonna steal a little dough from some of the other ones. So if you have small children, this is a great way to show them math too, like help me count the pieces of dough together. And things like, obviously things like mixers, you have to be really careful with your small children, but it teaches them responsibility. As long as you supervise them, you can teach them a lot of things in the kitchen. I certainly learned a lot when I was growing up, watching my mom in the kitchen. So I have a question for those of you who are attending class with us tonight. Does anyone here ever make, like tortillas hechas a mano, like gordita style? Does anyone like to make gorditas? Are there any Salvadorians here who like to make pupusas? And the reason I ask is because the techniques in making a pupusa are actually similar to empanadas. Obviously, we're not going to be hand cutting our empanadas, but there's certain things that are parallel. And I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just lightly dusting my balls of dough with flour, just so they kind of, oh my goodness, I could take a picture. It's just so pretty. Again, I'm having flashbacks to my mom. Yeah, lightly dust with flour, but I just love it. It reminds me of when I was a kid and she'd let me play with masa with flour. It's helped me to feel included and important, in the household. When you're a small kid, maybe you have smaller kids that are too young to like maybe take the trash out. It's like the trash is bigger than them, but if you include them in little things, it really does help their self-confidence. It helps them feel included in the household, and in the kitchen. Plus, sweets taste great. Who doesn't want to be involved in helping make the sweets? Okay, so now if you can hand me my rolling pin, please. It's right over there with you. So you definitely want a rolling pin for this. You can see that mine's already dusted with flour because I made some empanadas earlier. And I'm gonna set some of these balls of dough to the side and just kind of work one at a time. And the technique that I'm gonna use to make this, I'm gonna roll this way and this way. So like, you can move your body or you can move the dough depending on how comfortable you are. So let me kind of move this stuff so you can really see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna bring this as close as I can to you so you can see what I'm talking about. So, okay, let's move these little dough balls over here. So I'm gonna roll this way, and this is where you want to flour your rolling pin so it doesn't stick to it. And then I'm gonna roll this way. So you can see here it's sticking to it. I could use a little more flour on my rolling pin. I'm just actually gonna get some in here. So you're gonna roll this way and roll that way so that you kind of have even texture throughout. Sometimes, you know, this is just a technique that I did over the years. I kind of just pat it out with my hand after I roll it out. I'm very tactile personally. Everyone's different, but I like to really feel with my hands what it is exactly that I'm doing. So, you know, some things to look out for. Do's and don'ts, right? You don't want the center here. You don't want this too thin because this is the part that's going to fold over and, you know, have all that gooey goodness inside. You do want the center to be thick enough to be able to withstand that. And then you don't want the edges too thick because you're going to fold over the edges. And you do want the edges to be just proportionate, you know, not thicker than the middle for sure. Now, for those of you, like I asked about, like, if you make tortillas hechas a mano, because, or pupusas, because the technique is similar, that if, you know, it's not the end of the world, if like you're making it and the little part tears, you know, you can just get a little bit of dough or masa, right? And just kind of make a band-aid with it. And I'll show you what I mean. So I'm gonna roll this out again because I was kind of messing with it. So we want a nice even shape. So I'm going to show you from the beginning with the ball. So roll it this way and roll it that way. Kind of to the edges too. Very, very nice. Okay. So, and this is why you want your surface to be dusted. That way it doesn't stick to your surface. So I'm just gonna dusting this area, but I'm trying to bring it a little closer so y'all can see. All right, so that looks pretty good. All right. You know, some places you can also buy like dumpling. Was there a question?
Yes. Can you use a tortilla press?
You know, I've never used a tortilla press before. I would say as long as you dust with flour, it should be okay. This is going to be stickier than masa because this has butter and egg in it.
Okay.
You know, masa is typically just masarina, maybe a little olive oil, maybe a little oil, maybe a little lard and water. So try it. I mean, now I kind of want to try it.
So try it and let us know if it works.
Yeah, I think I might have to try that as a TikTok hack, right? You know, TikTok made me do it, making empanadas with a tortilla press. Okay, so I've got my jam here. You can call it jam. And then I have some cream cheese. Again, this has been softened to room temperature. I set it out before I started, you know, class. And what I'm going to do is, since it's softened, I can kind of, you know, spread it around. All right, cool. So we've got some jelly and some cream cheese. Now, this jelly, like I said, it's pretty firm. It's gonna melt in the oven, but right now, it can be a little difficult to work with. Not necessarily difficult, but I'm gonna give you a tip. So you can see here, I'm gonna fold this part over. So I have the cheese further away from me onto the part that's gonna be the fold, because the cheese is more pliable than the jelly, if that makes sense. So I'm going to fold it over. Oh, this looks great. Okay, and then there's a couple of techniques that you can do to seal the edges. So my mom, I'm gonna show you how my mom does it, and I'm gonna show you how I do it. So my mom will just get her finger, can you see that? And pinch the edges. I'll bring it a little closer to you so you can see what I'm talking about. And pinch the edges. And then once she sealed the edges that way, she kind of just folds them up and over. Can you see that? So that's one technique. It looks fantastic. And if you like are the type of person who loves pie crust, then this gives you like a kind of a pie crust effect. So I'm going to set this to the side. Now I'm going to show you my technique for sealing them. So we're going to roll this out on your floured surface with your floured rolling pin. So I'm going to get my jam or jelly or paste, my cheese mixture, and I'm going to sort of use my spoon to flatten the cheese mixture. It's not cheese mixture, it's just my cheese, my softened cheese, I should say. And now I'm going to fold it over. Beautiful. All right. And so this is how I close my empanadas. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. I'm just going to get a fork and seal the edges. I like the decoration that it puts on there, and it does the same job of sealing the empanada. I'm kind of just going to go back around the edges to make sure that it's sealed all the way through. Beautiful. I'm telling you, man, especially because the guava is like that rich red color. You see how red this is? And then you have the white of the cheese. This is so great to take to holiday parties. I know Thanksgiving hasn't even come yet, and I'm already thinking about Christmas, but really, like, bring these as a dessert to Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, bring them to posadas, make them on Dia de la Virgen, make them for Christmas Eve. Honestly, especially because Thanksgiving, the pie shops are so crowded. Why not just make your own little empanadas? And it's like individual little pies. So you can kind of see the difference between the techniques here. So here's my mom's technique. It's kind of pinched and rolled. And this is my technique, using a fork to pinch the edges. And can you do me a favor? Can you throw this eggshell away and then bring back the bowl? Thank you. All right, so now we're going to, thank you. The important thing to do with the empanadas now is to brush them with an egg wash, and this is going to make them just have that beautiful golden color. Something else to mention is that if you know, before you start making this, that's when you can preheat your oven so that by the time they're ready to go, you know, your oven's nice and warm at 350 Fahrenheit. Or, you know, you could, at this point, preheat your oven, and then as you roll them out and assemble them, by the time you're done, your oven will be nice and warm. Okay, so this is our second egg for the egg wash. Just a light beat to kind of mix everything together. I'm going to demonstrate how to do an egg wash on this. Put this in here. Okay. So this is the type of brush that I like to use for egg washes. The brushes are like silicone. So I can put this in the dishwasher because, you know, we're working with raw egg here. I feel comfortable putting this into my dishwasher. However, if you use like the traditional like painter's brush, that's fine too. And I want you to really pay close attention to how I'm gonna brush this with egg wash. It's just like back and forth. You're just lightly wetting your brush and then back and forth. And that's kind of why I like to do this on stainless steel countertops like here, because I can always just like sanitize this after in case I get eggs somewhere. It's not a big deal. Sometimes kitchen counters are a little porous depending on the stone that you use. But like I said, you can always buy a marble slab as well. All right, and very quick, just back and forth. You got your egg wash. You're good to go. I'm going to give you this egg here. You can just put this into the sink. All right. So at this point, you would bake the empanadas for 20 to 25 minutes. Can you bring me some of the empanadas? I made some prior to class, just in case we ran out of time. And I wanted to show you some more do's and don'ts. So this is what you want your empanadas to look like when they're done. So see this fork technique? It's so pretty. It got nice and crispy on the edges. And this is the folding over. Oh, they smell so good. This is the folding over technique. And this is how they look with the egg wash. Nice and golden, just absolutely beautiful. Now I kind of want to show you some like do's and don'ts. So this one, I purposely made the center part. Remember I was telling you like you don't want the center too thin or it might burst. And so the jelly kind of broke through. You can really see the line of demarcation of where I put the jam, right? And so what happened there is all the jam stayed in the middle. See that? And I guarantee you none of it is at the edges. I mean, it still tastes good. It's certainly not the end of the world if like you're kind of learning, you know. Same with this one. The jam all got stuck here and then the edges are just like bread. And then this one, you know, kind of in the middle of it, I put too much in this one and it kind of came out while I was baking, it bursted open. So, and then I also did these, you know, the do not do's. I made these without the egg wash so you can kind of see the difference. Like the egg wash kind of just makes it look a little more golden and pretty. Like I said, they still taste good though. It's the same masa. Oh my gosh, that's so good. It's the same masa. You know, it's just a different technique. So I wanted to show you the difference between that. Any questions about the empanadas?
No, I think we're good. They look delicious, by the way.
They are so good. I'm actually going to hand this plate back to my husband so that I don't eat them because I will eat them while I make a champurrado. And then, Amor, if you can also give me a plate, I'll put these raw empanadas on there and I'll, you know, bake them at the end. I didn't want to bake them in the middle of class because, oh, I would start sweating. Right now we have the kitchen doors all closed. Thank you, because my mom's with my baby right now. I didn't want you guys to be hearing my screaming baby. You know what I mean? We can bake these at the end of class. Thank you. Okay. So clean as you go. At this point, you know, I would wash my countertop with like warm soapy water and a sponge and maybe like Lysol it at the very end and let it dry overnight so that I can work again tomorrow. I'm not going to do all that right now, but I kind of just wanted to demonstrate that to you or explain that to you so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we're ready for the champurrado. I'm just going to put this little placemat here. So you can hand me the kettle. It should be hot. It should be warm. I mean, I boiled the water prior to class. I don't know, so it's, thank you. Okay, and I'm going to grab the masa right here. All right, so we're gonna get 1 cup of masa and dissolve 3 cups of water in the masa. So I'm using 2 pots here. So you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. Oh, I love the smell of the masa from Northgate. So you can kind of see, this is about a cup. So I'm trying to be a good señora here and use actual measurements, but that's about a cup of masa. You see that? It's in my hand. So I'm going to put this in here and cover it with 3 boiling hot cups of water. So this is 2 cups. And let's do 1 cup. Excelente. I'm just going to set this aside because I'm going to use this in a little bit. So you can use a whisk. You can use, you know, this. I'm just going to use my whisk in here. The purpose here is to dissolve the masa in the hot water. Because once that's set, I'm going to, you know, pour this masa mixture into my atole mix. And in the meantime, while that's happening, I'm going to give you these just so we can start making some room. I'm going to move my hot plate more over here now so you can see what I'm doing. We can move on to the next step. So the hot plate is here. I'm going to turn this on and bring a cup of water to a simmer. So, you know, with the champurrado, you're kind of multitasking a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. I'm going to put this at medium heat. Okay, so I'm gonna get a cup of water. Bring that water to a boil with a cinnamon stick. So I'm gonna kind of let that do its thing while I'm dissolving the masa over here. Excellent, excellent. I'm starting with water as a base, even though the champurrado calls for milk as well, because milk burns rather quickly. So I'm gonna bring water to a boil first before I start throwing the milk in there. While I'm doing that, I can also open my can of evaporated. Lots of multitasking. If you're blessed enough to have a sous chef, aka a friend that you like to make things with, certainly take advantage. I'm just gonna open my evaporated milk in the meantime.
So you have a question.
Yes.
Is a masa just instant corn flour or something else that was prepared beforehand?
Great question. So I use the Northgate masa that's like preparada, plain, that you would use like to make tortillas, or like it's not the tamal masa, it's the plain masa that you can use for tortillas and other things such as like sopes, pupusas. That's what I'm using in here. You can certainly use like masa harina, right? Like the corn flour. But using the Northgate masa just adds a totally different texture. It makes the champurrado so much richer. And as you can see now, it's totally, this is totally dissolved. So even though it looks like a ball of masa, right? It's totally dissolved in here. It's just gonna be lots of fun. So this cinnamon stick is boiling. I'm gonna add my piloncillo and my Mexican chocolate tablet. And as I want that to melt, as I wait for that to melt a little bit, kind of, you can use a whisk, you can use this. I'm kind of using both so that you can see, your options. I'm going to start measuring my milk. It's about 1.5 cups of milk. That's a cup, 1.5 cups. Excellent. Oh, it's already, puffed up. So I'm waiting for the piloncillo to melt and the chocolate as well. I want this to melt in the water so that I want this at a higher heat to melt this. I don't want my milk to burn, so I'm going to put my evaporated milk and my cow's milk in here. Once the piloncillo and chocolate tablet have dissolved. And that way from there, we just worry about frothing things up. So since the water was boiling when I put this in here, it's breaking up pretty quickly, which is what we're looking for. Yeah, great. Awesome. Okay. So at this point I can pour in my cow's milk and my evaporated milk. All right, it's starting to smell like champurrado. Like I said, champurrado can be compared to like an atole de chocolate, and in our culture, atole is so it's just so, there's so much history, right? Like the Aztecs used to drink like champurrado before a battle because they thought it was like an elixir that made them invincible. And then in other aspects, like going to battle these days, right, with champurrado, but for example, like after I had my son last year, my mom stayed with me for the first 40 days, and she would make me atoles every day. So she would make me hot chocolate, she would make me champurrado, she would make me atole de avena, atole de maicena, atole de galleta. I mean, she would just make me all kinds of atoles because, she firmly believed that they would help me recover. And I really do believe that they did help me recover from childbirth. It was like my first child that I had. And I always had a great milk supply, bendito sea Dios, and we do believe that it's because of all the atoles that I drank. So if you know a new mom, make her this champurrado, leave it at her doorstep, and she will She will thank you later. So if you've never used one of these things before, you know, whisk, you kind of just stir it. But these, you kind of go like this, and it has little rings that move side to side. So at the bottom is like a masher. That's what I was mashing the chocolate. At the bottom, it looks like a bean masher. So that's what I was mashing the chocolate and the piloncillo with. But then if I twist it, the little rings wiggle. And that kind of is what helps me to froth the milk and the chocolate. You can kind of stir, you can froth, whatever you want to do. I want to make sure that this chocolate totally dissolves. Can I use a non-dairy milk? Natalie, you certainly can use a non-dairy milk. I would just, for example, the evaporated milk is 12 ounces. So that's a cup and a half. So I use a cup and a half of evaporated milk, a cup and a half of cow's milk. So that's 3 cups. So just make sure you're using the same amount of liquid. So if you're going to use like oat milk, will taste amazing in this. Make sure you use 3 cups. Coconut milk, I think would be a little interesting. Almond milk would give this a really nice nutty taste. And something like walnut milk would make this so rich as well. All right. So I want to kind of wait for this to like bubble. What I'm looking for. These are the things I'm looking for. I want this to bubble. I want the chocolate to become fully integrated in this. Right now, I can still see like little specks of chocolate in there, even though the chocolate's dissolved. See that? See, like it looks like there's like chocolate in the milk. It doesn't look like hot chocolate. You want it to kind of look like hot chocolate. Champurrado is like a thick, comforting hot chocolate. So I'm frothing it up to really get things incorporated. And once it's at the consistency that I'd like to see it, I'm going to throw in the masa mixture. And the masa mixture is going to help thicken everything up. So I'm going to give this a good stir too before I pour it in. This is champurrado right here, literally multitasking, whisking 2 things at once. Totally worth it though, I promise. Froth it up with this. Frothing really does. And you need to constantly stir this because there's milk in here, and you know, milk burns very quickly on the stovetop. So the chocolate looks a little more dissolved, or like, I mean, it was dissolved before I put this in here, but it looks like more incorporated, I should say. It looks more mixed in there. Froth it up a little more. Frothing, it makes a difference. If you don't have a frother, you can use a whisk. Yeah, frothing makes a big difference though. So whisk it, froth it, and now I'm gonna pour my masa mixture in here. And so this is what's gonna make it thick. Beautiful. Oh yeah, that was totally dissolved when we poured it in there, which is great. And so what's fantastic when I think about, we had 1 cup of water in here, plus like 3 cups of milk, and 3 cups of water and masa mixture. So what is that? It's elementary math, like 7 cups of liquid. So this really filled this pot. So you can say that this one made, you know, between also the chocolate and everything, about 8 servings. If you have big mugs, conservatively, you can say 6 servings. So like I said, this is absolutely fantastic to make, like for Thanksgiving, posadas, Dia de la Virgen. Also, if any of you are having posadas this year, I'm just going to a good posada. I didn't go last year or the year before. I think last year, you know, because of the situation, and the year before because I was like pregnant. And, like, I was only a few weeks pregnant. And I was like so nauseous. I didn't want to go anywhere. I miss posadas, so if you have one. Oh man, this is looking great. So I just want this to come to like a soft boil, simmer, if you will, so that everything can be nice and blended. I mean, it looks great. The chocolate looks fully incorporated. Making a mess over here. I'm a little too enthusiastic. other questions so far? Oh man, that is looking fabulous. At this point, I'm gonna take out the cinnamon stick. I don't want it to like break apart either. It's still whole, it's still intact. But you know, sometimes once things start boiling, then the cinnamon stick kind of like breaks apart and it's harder to fish out. Awesome. Oh my goodness. This is done. It's ready to go. It's absolutely beautiful. Everything has mixed together really nicely. I'll pour this into a mug. Another thing you can do too is, you know, something like this, you can pour your champurrado into here. It's just so pretty to serve it from. Pour myself just a little bit. It's like really hot. So I'm just gonna pour myself a little bit because, you know, the less I pour, the quicker it will cool off. So can you bring me up a small plate with prettiest empanada on your place? This is my little placemat right now because there's like flour and like guava jam. But you know what? This is a working kitchen, right? This is what a kitchen looks like when you use it, when you work in it. Thank you. Looks great. So here we have our empanadas. And I want to cut one in half. Hasta me da lástima cortarlo, para ser muy honesta. It makes me sad to like even eat it. It's just so pretty. You can kind of see cheese.
They look delicious, Bernie.
It tastes like my childhood. And if you make it, it's gonna taste really good and you might make some nice memories with it too. Let's taste the champurrado. Well, it's still very hot. Oh, it tastes great. Oh man, it's thick, it's comforting, it's chocolatey, sweet but not too sweet. It's really delicious. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for inviting me, Bernie Molina, and Northgate Market into your home tonight to learn how to make these recipes that are so near and dear to me. Empanadas, my mama's recipe, and champurrado, you know, a family recipe that I've been perfecting for the past couple of years. If you make it, please tag us on Instagram. We would love to see your creations. Natalie, thank you, Bernie. Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. My Instagram is @herencia_cookbook, and you can tag Northgate at Northgate Market. So if you make it, tag us, and I promise you, you're gonna be the most popular person. Sierra says, quick question. What was the question?
So you will get a follow-up email within the next day or so with all the instructions, not only the ingredients, and then we're also going to be putting them up on our Northgate YouTube channel, so you could see, if you want to see the class again, you're welcome to see it. So that's where you could find it, Ms. Martinez. And also, Bernie, thank you so much. I missed you guys all. And this Thursday, we have a class, Carmen su jugo. It's an awesome delicacy brought to you by Abril. And we have more classes coming up. So we are so excited to be back. And our tamale classes start soon. So, and I know Bernie's going to be teaching us how to do one tamale. But thank you all for joining. And don't forget to look at our emails and our Northgate Market Instagram for more classes coming your way. But hope to see you soon. And I'm glad that we have our old friends back. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Priscilla. And new friends. So thank you. And thank you, Bernie.
Gracias a ustedes.
I
Thank
want to
you.
go make some champurrado. I'm cold, but I want some comfort. So thank you all.
Teresa, come pick up some empanadas contact list.
I'm telling you, I can't wait till I go visit these girls because they all owe me some good food. Thank you so much for your help. I'm going to make a posada just so that you could come and bring me some empanadas.
Hey, you know what? That sounds good. You have that posada, I'll bring it. I'll bring some tequila too.
Okay, see you all. Have a great evening.
Buenas noches. Bye.